Hello, good evening, and welcome to the Fatback 4 podcast for this Sunday night. It was meant to be Manchester United against Liverpool at Old Trafford, but something happened. I don't know what, and the game didn't go ahead. But look, we've loads and loads to talk about. We were, of course, meant to be coming on reviewing what would have been a crunch game for Liverpool in particular. But what's happened today kind of has overtaken everything in the world of football over the last couple of weeks, and it came to a bit of a head today at Old Trafford and other parts of Manchester as things went. This show, of course, is brought to you by Tayrock Watches. Tayrock.com. Use Daytrippers15 for a 15% discount. All you need for men and women's watches, jewellery and gifts. Make sure you check them out. The link is in the description, and if you go there, the code and everything is there. It's very, very simple for you to use. But we want to get into this, and with me I have Keith, I have Seany. Grizz is not with us, he's unwell. He hasn't been well the last couple of days, and I told him, look, relax, we have this. So we just got somebody better than him, and we've brought on Adam. Adam is a Manchester United fan. I want you to go easy on him, but Adam was at these protests today at Old Trafford, and he's going to give you the insight exactly what happened, how it happened, why it happened, and what they're looking to achieve and all that sort of stuff. So, Adam, I will tell you that our chat is very knowledgeable and very respectful, so there won't be any sort of witch hunt. We won't allow it anyway. But we'd like to first of all thank you for coming on the show tonight, because it has been a busy day. But Adam, tell me, where did this come from? And we know where it comes from. The European Super League brings it to a head. But this was obviously organised. How did the day go? Because you just said to us before we come on, when I was arriving into Manchester or driving towards the ground, it felt like a match day. You knew how many numbers were going to be involved here.
Yeah.
We know what the purpose was. Tell us about your day.
Yeah, I mean, you know what, mate? This all started last week, because we had a protest last week. And I would say this was more of a social media sort of set up protest. And this was, I'd say, around about 3,000 to 5,000. The pictures and all that went up on Sky and everything. Everyone's seen the pictures and that. But then, literally the day before that protest was supposed to come about, the United Fan Forum, United Fan Foundation, the main boys, really, the ones who've been at the front and centre of the whole Glazer Out movement, who have been at them consistently for the last 15 years since they started at the football club. And they organised a separate protest, which was today's. I think they took the opportunity, knowing that, you know what is going to put this out in the public eye even more. The biggest game in world football, Manchester United against Liverpool. They knew Liverpool would be in town. They knew where United is. Well, we all know where the United's hotel is. So it seemed like a very, very organised operation for starters. And like I said, going into the protest last weekend, it was a bit more mundane, but no, it gathered pace. But this one today seemed to be going before it even got started. The banners were all put out last night, day before. It was set up. It was around Old Trafford was plastered with anti-glazer, like I'd never seen before. As I drove in, nowhere to park, it was literally like a match day, and you just got the feeling, the vibe that something was going down, something big was going down, and you could hear the noise. You could hear the noise from 500 meters away. It was that clear. As soon as he got there, the flares, smoke bombs, everything was going. It seemed to be all on the main front, the forecourt, which was quite normal. It's what we had last week. And then the fans started to do a march, which I didn't think was going to happen, to be fair. And they all marched down to the Munich tunnel, pretty much where you guys would go on an away day. I'm sure you know that corner. Mm-hmm. It's very tight-knit and close. There's not many ways out. And this is where all the pictures that you've seen on TV and everything has come from, this one corner here. What we didn't know is that around the other side of the stadium, the guys got onto the pitch. They went round another way and somehow managed to get through. And this, again, for me, just showed how, well, our club and how they take the fans for granted. This showed again how their ineptitude at dealing with situations and the fans' voice was taken into consideration, because this has been plastered all over social media. It's been on Sky Sports, been on the radios, everything. They knew this was coming, and the staffing and the police mate, it was non-existent. There was a couple of vans there, non-existent. And I've seen people saying, look, the stewards, they let them straight through the door. The pictures are all out there. What are you going to do as a steward working there when you've got nearly 500 fans coming at you? They're just going to go, I'm not paid for this. In you go, lads. And that's pretty much what happened. Any normal man would do it. And that's how they got on the pitch. Then they all came around the other side again. The match ball was in the crowd. The corner flags from the pitch. It was quite embarrassing, to be honest, how it was like making a mockery of the football club. They were all outside. Then the singing, the chanting, everything started in that corner, and the whole protest was there in that corner. I did an interview on Sky News. I think it was about 1.5 minutes long. It got clipped today and posted out on social media. Made me look like the ringleader of the whole thing. I was just like, and then do you know what they do? They just clip it and put it out there to fill their own sort of agenda, whatever they want to do, news and everything like that. But then it started, drinks were flowing, started to get rowdy as you'd expect it to, nowhere to go, fans all bunched together. And then what I seen was pictures that didn't come up on news or any outlet like that. Another door was broken down or broken into, which led into the stadium itself. So like an executive section of the stadium right in the corner. Smoke bombs were set off in there. You probably see pictures of guys actually banging on the window in the top stands. Them pictures have been put out there as well. They all got up there. And again, it was sort of like just let loose. They were sort of just let loose in there just to try and stem the flow. I don't think the police wanted to interact at this stage. They just let everyone do what they wanted to do, which seemed weird at the time, but breaking it down probably, it seemed like the right thing to do. Everyone came out, and then the police came in eventually, started to get a bit closer. A few more numbers came in, then a few minor scuffles. Minor is all it is. I won't say it was drastic, but they came in quite quickly and just dealt with the situation, pushed most of the fans away back from that section, and then everyone sort of dispersed out of it. But what happened at the hotel sort of coincided with that. So it was like an organised sort of operation in a way. It was properly organised for fans to be at both places at the same time. Do you know what? It just looked like a bit of a covert operation to me. But you know, we all know why we were doing it. There's a few opportunist fans there that did what they did and got on the pitch. The faces are all over. They're all over the news. I'm sure they will all be reprimanded. And you know what? These are the fans who've probably thrown their season tickets in now and really don't give a toss. And they've just gone for it. That's what it is, and that's what it was. All in all, the protest was decent. There was a lot of good people there. A lot of people just there to sing and voice their opinions about the ownership and what was going on. But like in all these things, guys, you know it. You've seen the scenes yourself sometimes. Yep. Like you said before, the coaches driving into Anfield and stuff. There's just a few guys that just go one step too far. And that's pretty much how the day broke down. I tried to cover it as best I could. I've got clips up and little bits and bobs of sing-songs and stuff like that. And most of it, it wasn't safe in terms of COVID restrictions or anything like that. People were climbing up on the outside of stadiums, on boxes. You've probably seen all them pictures as well. And, you know, in the end, we knew there was going to be a little bit of aggro, but what happened on the pitch and then it actually stopping a game, well, I didn't see that coming. That took me by complete surprise, to be honest.
It's from what I've listened to you there, like, it is organised because, like you said, there's people at Old Trafford, there's anti-Glazer, material being hung up or stuck up everywhere like you've never seen before, as you've just said. And then, of course, there's people at the team hotel, so it is organised, and there's no issue with that. But from what I've listened to you there, it seems that it was kind of like a breakaway march, would you say? Was that fair to say? Like a breakaway march that just happened to go at the stadium and managed to get in? Or, you know, were they just opportunistic on one side of the stadium? And like you said, United just, were just undermining what they thought you could do. So, it's for me, like, I'm going to be honest with you, I have no issue with protest. Everyone should have the right to protest. I think it will look bad on Manchester United fans today as to what happened and people on the pitch. There's no doubt about that. But Seany, I'll come to you because I said to you earlier, what do you make of this? And you said, I've no interest with people protesting. Is it the way this is unfolded, Seany, that's going to look bad on Manchester United as a club because of, like Adam said, they can't even secure their own ground against people getting into it. Yeah. And B, Manchester United supporters, where possibly 99% of them there today were there to protest peacefully. But you see the pictures that come out of, clashes with police outside the ground and stuff down at the team hotel. Is it just one of those, Seany, where a small minority for you has ruined what could have looked a very, very impressive march and demonstration against the Glazer family?
Yeah, but look, you hit the nail on the head, but you can't hold the many responsible for the actions of a few, because when you look at the terms of the numbers in and around the ground and then inside the ground, once you see lads walking around with bags of cans and all, it's game over. Nobody who shows up. No, I'm not being funny. Like, people show up for these people show up to these protests and they have a genuine love for the club. They're not hooligans, as people say. They care about their club deeply. They've seen what's gone on for the last decade and a half, and they care. They're ingrained in the club, and they, in a sense, they want their club back. But when you see people showing up with cans and stuff like that, 95% of them can be there for the right reasons, Gav. But the media will just pick up on the few. And the thing that annoyed me most about this whole thing was Sky's stance on it, being bastions of morality. Carragher, Neville, just you could see from minute one that they were saying how they really felt. Then they were coming back after ad breaks and earpieces were out, and then they were saying complete contrary to what they just completely contradicted themselves the whole time. I'm wondering now, had there been no push for the European Super League, and although maybe 30,000 United fans wouldn't have showed up today protesting, but there still would have been a lot of United fans who want Glazers out. So just say, take for instance, the ESL never happens. Sky don't have an invested interest. What would their outlook be on what the United fans did today? I'm sure it'll probably be a bit different. See, they're trying to push a narrative now that this is fan power in football and it's about the fans, when it's really not to them. Sky are protecting their baby. Their baby is the Premier League. They know how detrimental the Super League would be to a Premier League if the 6 clubs weren't there or weren't hanging around or people weren't tuning in and the sporting integrity was somewhat hampered. So you need to think about, that's the thing that frustrates me the most, is the carry on of Neville, the carry on of Carragher, the carry on of Sky in general. United fans, we can't relate because although we have got American owners and people do want them out, Old Trafford is rotten. The club, even though they have got managers in and they have invested in the squad, on the football side, they haven't taken care of the club. They haven't upgraded the training facilities. They haven't put the right people in charge to make footballing decisions, because ultimately that's what the fans want. They don't care about commercial value. They want the right football decisions to be made. They want the right people put in place so that United are competing at the top. Because I'm sure if you ask United fans about the terms of money they'd invested in the squad, they wouldn't have many arguments. But Old Trafford is falling apart. Whereas if you look at Man City, the infrastructure that they've put in there with the training ground in and around the area, that part of Manchester. I've been to that part of Manchester. I've been to the Etihad. They've done some job. There's a visible representation of what they have done there with their investment. You go to Anfield now, completely different to what it was 10, 15 years ago. I remember if you're going in the Anfield Road and you are looking at a 15-foot brick wall fenced by barbed wire going into that entrance of the game. And it was horrible. But now, look, it's all open plan. And our owners have invested in training grounds and facilities in the infrastructure of the club as a general. Whereas United fans feel that the Glazers are just, for want of a better term, they're raping United for financial gain over the coals, because they've taken billions out in dividends. And I do get that. And this is where their frustrations are. So we can't put ourselves in the same boat as them, because we're not really. We haven't been through that. And you bet your bollocks that in 5-10 years' time, FSG are siphoning money out of the club. You can't tell me that Liverpool fans wouldn't be much different. What I want to know is, what would the media portrayal be if that had been Liverpool today?
Well, I think
people talk about us having this victim complex. When we won the league and everyone celebrated, was people saying they were thugs and criminals for hanging around outside Anfield. The whole outlook was different. So that's my beef is with Sky, because Sky over the last couple of weeks have been acting as the good guy. Wear this, wear that. Well, no, you're not. You're charging fucking fans a fortune to tune into football. You're the ones who are sending fucking 12:30 kickoffs away to bomb, expecting fans from Liverpool, from the north, to get down and see those games. They don't give a bollocks about the fans. Sky don't give a fuck about the fans. They're just trying to create this facade that they're on the fan side when they're not. Everyone has self-interest. Gary Neville owns businesses around Old Trafford where hotel football, Adam, agree or disagree, it's a fucking tourist trap. That's what it is. People pay big money to see. It's 200 yards away from the ground. Whereas Gary Neville is a man of the people, to the people around Manchester. Salford, they have a championship wage bill in League Two. They're bankrolled by a billionaire. So Gary Neville is not this white knight. Sky aren't these white knights. United fans were well within their right to protest. And I'm with them. Because the Glazers are a horrible shower of bastards. And we've normally used them as a stick to measure FSG with. And they're nowhere near as bad as these fuckers. And it just seems to me United fans have had enough. And today was a product of that.
Keith, very, very well put, by the way. Keith, Adam speaks there and Seany speaks there, and this is the ESL stuff definitely fuels this. I think it's been rumbling for years now. You've seen the yellow and green stuff from United, and you've seen protests here and there. And when it's going badly, they're on top of the owners like a light, because sometimes it's the easy thing to do. But in fairness, Gary Neville himself said on Sky Sports the Monday, the day after the whole Super League stuff, he said he watched as a United fan. And he's seen them, the Glazers maybe not making the right football decisions or taking dividends out of the club. And he was kind of all right with that, But when it's affecting Gary Neville in particular now and his interest, he seems to be outraged and he's the messiah for football fans. But Keith, the ESL definitely fuels it. And Seany's right, if that ESL didn't happen, what would be the reaction to today? And it's a very good question. But overall, Keith, what did you think of today? Because I'm going to tell you, I had no issue with protesting. No issue, because I have to be honest with you. We laugh and joke about the Glazers taking 60 million a year or 60 million every 6 months out of Manchester United. They bought them on a loan. That's what they done. They got a loan of a load of money. They bought the club, right, for 500 odd million, I think it was. Adam might correct me. They took a loan out for 500 million quid, bought it with the loan, okay? And what they do is they now have a 4 billion pound asset, maybe. And what they know they're secure forever, right? And they're paying off. And instead of just, paying it, they're just paying it off in bit by bit by bit. And all at the same time, instead of using money to pay it back, they're taking that money. They could have had this paid off a long, long time ago and cost United probably £1 billion less, I would say, somewhere in the region of that. Keith, they had to come to this. But today, as Adam said, he's giving you his view on things, and not his view, his actual happenings, because he was there. I had to come to this, Keith, but it still looks bad, doesn't it? You can't be against protest, Keith, can you?
No, I'm certainly not. Look, I'm a trade unionist. I'm a shop steward in my job. I'm very much pro-protesting. I think everyone should, if you feel your club is being sort of... these people aren't fans. These owners, they're not fans of football. They're not fans of football clubs. The Glazers do not care about Adam and any other Manchester United fan. And FSG are not fans of Liverpool, and Stan Kroenke is not a fan of Arsenal. These people are in there, they're businessmen, they're in there with an investment, and they're in it to make money. They don't see the emotional side of it. Fans do. Manchester United fans have been raring up about this for years, and rightly so. And it's come to a head now, but you touched on it there, Gav. The ESL stuff has pushed this forward. Now, Adam will know more than us, about what the feeling is outside of the ESL. Was it coming to a head without this, or has this really brought the Glazer protest back into focus? Because well, I'm sure it's always there. We're not Manchester United fans, so we don't really follow it. Has this brought it back in, or is it just an easy excuse? Do you know what I mean? Like the ESL, like Gary Neville was straight on blaming this on the ESL, on the Glazers, on Liverpool. And it loses, I think, a bit of, I think today's actions, the protest fine. The numbers at the protest, like you say, people will moan about, you know, COVID protocols and all that. But if you're going to have big numbers of protest, have big numbers. That's great. I think the actions of sort of breaking into the stadium detracts from the protest, in my opinion, right? I think it turns it slightly and it makes the club, the fans look bad. And I think it can be painted to make the fans look bad. Seany said it, you know, the actions of a few will have an impact on the many that were there. And I think it sort of loses a bit of the magnitude of what they're trying to do. But ultimately, they got the Liverpool-Manchester United game called off, which if you're going to have a strike about some maximum impact is what you're looking for. And that's what they got, was maximum impact. But by you know, kicking indoors, by going onto the pitch, by lighting flares and setting them off, by kicking the ball around, it just looked, and as Seany said, with bags of cans, it was a terrible look, in my opinion. Now, that's taken the partisan element, the tribalism, the Liverpool fans talking about Manchester United fans. Just as a look, I thought it looked terrible, in my opinion. Sky were on very quick. Jamie Carragher and Gary Neville were on saying peaceful protest, peaceful protest, peaceful protest. But all the pictures were contradicting that. And the lads are right. The self-interest, they was protecting their own interests in this. Now, Adam, you were there. You were in the thick of this. Was it peaceful where you were? Do you know what I mean? Was it all kicking off? Was it going off everywhere? Or was it just the odd scattering of sort of argy-bargy?
Yeah, it was. It was based down at the Munich tunnel. That's where it was all happening. That's where the fans got into the stadium for the second time. That's where it was going on. It was going off nowhere else. It was just in that corner. Everyone congregated there because they knew they couldn't get through. And that sort of incited the sort of aggro that was there and it actually going off because no one could really move anywhere. And that's where it was. It was just that little corner. There was nothing else anywhere else. There was a little march around the stadium as well. Went off fine. Now, I've seen some pictures about people and fans who were, I think it was just at the end of it, where they were banging on cars, stopping traffic coming through. Now, that's just completely stupid because it's another 500 yards away from the stadium. And that's when you start going, like, okay, it's like Keith said, then bags of beer, stupid kids out for a day out, just go to the protests, do what you've got to do, make your voice heard there. But when you start taking it out onto the streets that are leading into Old Trafford as well, then you're making it look like a complete clown show, in my opinion. That's when it gets a bit stupid. And you both said it there. It's Sky's view on it. It's the mainstream media view on it. I said at the start, I didn't know I was talking to Sky News. I just did an interview at the side. So when I asked me if I wanted to do an interview, I said, yeah, no problem at all. Wanted to make it clear that everything was just a normal protest. Everything was going off. We wanted to get our point across. This is why we was doing it. And I've seen the headline and me looking like a complete fuck. United fans protesting, stopping the game going on. And then it just makes it just adds to their own agenda, really. It's, you know what I mean? So much for the social media boycott. They've done that on the snide and snuck in there and got all these stories out through other sources because they didn't say it was Sky News doing it. They've all shared the same sort of stream of video.
Parties, yeah.
That's it. And that's how they got it out.
Do you know what, Adam? Like the team hotel thing. So we don't know if the game would have been called off. You know, if fans had just been on that pitch and dispersed, like you said, and out of the ground secured, and the teams could have arrived in and played. You know, there's a lot of Liverpool fans and Manchester United fans that were looking forward to that game today. It doesn't happen. Now we're wondering where it'll go ahead. Could it be tomorrow? Will Liverpool be given 3 points because United couldn't fulfil the fixture? You know, in their ground, on their property. There's all sorts going on. There'll be all sorts of ideas with regards to. I don't know what's going to happen. I could see United getting a big fine because they haven't secured or. I think the wording is provided a safe environment for it's actually fans and players is I think is the official word, but players in this case because there was fans in the ground. But when you look at this in hindsight, does the hotel stuff make sense? because I get the Glazers. I get the Glazers thing. I get you want them out, and there's so many reasons for it, which we've covered already. But protest outside the team hotel by all means, but don't block the bus. Don't stop them from leaving, because then it looks like you're protesting against, and you're not, but it looks like you're protesting against players and management who have done nothing wrong in all this. They're employed by Manchester United. They were thrown under the literal bus last week. All six clubs that were in that ESL last week, Liverpool included, threw their manager and the players under a bus last week. And Liverpool probably got it the most because they happened to be playing on the night of it really breaking. Do you get me? Do you think in hindsight that the hotel stuff could have been done, but to an extent where we're going to stand outside here in a silent protest with Glazers out written all over it, to show where the players and managers know, but to really show them that, look, we're going to let you go. We're going to let you go the game, but this is what you're going. This will be our backdrop, rather than buses being stopped there and it looking a little bit over the top for me, Adam.
As I look at it, I think they've gone into this today knowing, like we said at the start, what was going to happen, and knowing that, you know what, maybe we are going to upset a lot of people today, but the only way this is going to hit mainstream media, and I've had clips sent to me from Australia, from America, Canada, all over the world, and it has got worldwide, was the fact that the game was off.
Of course. The
only way they were going to stop that, I mean, we were hearing stories that I think it was about 2.5, 3 hours before it was called off, that the hotel was clear and the coaches and the players could have been on that coach and gone to the ground. They were waiting on something that was going on at the stadium. Now, this is where everyone started to talk, and maybe something that happened in the stadium that we didn't know about. But apparently at the hotel, it was all clear 2 or 3 hours before the announcement was made. So the coaches could have left and could have got to Old Trafford safely. That was officially stated out by Sky. So it kind of made it weird. But then thinking back, do you guys remember the bomb scare in the Bournemouth game that we had when
it was the
stadium
last
had
day
to
of the
season?
Yeah, and I was thinking, I don't know, it was just me, but the security protocol in there after that, and obviously not wanting to make that mistake again, I was thinking they just had no way of knowing if anyone was still in that stadium, because I'm guessing there were probably close to 1,000 people at any one time actually managed to get through the gates and inside Old Trafford. And let's not forget the smoke bombs, the fire alarms. I don't know how long it takes to reset the safety systems in Old Trafford or what it is, but I'm guessing it's a massive, massive project. And like you said, to completely confirm that these players were going to be coming and the officials were going to be coming to Old Trafford in a completely safe environment, that wasn't there. But then I'm looking, like you guys said, and I'm like, how can it be? Because the Sky mob are all there right in the middle of the stadium talking for hours on end. So why would they be in there? So I'm like, I don't understand why the game got called off. I really don't. I cannot figure out why it got called off.
Kicked off at night.
It's actually baffled me. But I think in terms of the hotel, where you back to your original point was, I think they knew that maybe the players would suffer in this. I think it was for their greater good. The only way, and the good that they saw, was the game being called off. That's the only way this hit mainstream media. Another protest like last weekend's would have been passed off. United fans vent their anger, so on and so forth. Football carries on. But now we're having to reschedule the biggest game in world football, and it's massive headline news. The only way it was going to ever be headline news is if this game was called off. And they got what they wanted in the end. And I didn't know the hotel thing was happening, mate. I really didn't.
Yeah.
From everyone who put this story out and everyone who organised it, it was concourse at Old Trafford. I didn't know about anything else.
Yeah, and that's what makes it so organised, because you're going to a protest that you think is happening on the concourse outside Old Trafford, and simultaneously there's one happening at the Manchester United team hotel. Look, as we've all said, you protest away, but I think, you see, Sky are trying to justify this today, right? And they have to, because of their stance they took 2 weeks ago. Okay, they have to, and they have to go well. And you see, because I'm going to be blunt. You see, if the Glazers leave Manchester United or FSG leave, when this all settles down, Sky and BT are next. That's my opinion. Sky and BT are next. The next thing you're going to protest against is people in grounds 55,000 at Anfield, 75,000 at Manchester United, 60,000 at Arsenal, wherever it might be, 55 or odd thousand at Man City, well, officially. And, and they're going to be shouting and screaming about Sky and BT. They're next. They're next, because not only did Sky position themselves a couple of weeks ago, then they've doubled down on it today by trying to justify, listen, you can call it a peaceful protest as much as you want, but you've seen there was elements of it that wasn't peaceful. So for them to completely claim, like Souness is saying, lads, we're having flares and everything, fuck that is here. And then Sky 2 minutes later saying, that's mainly peaceful and stuff like that. They've had to double down. But when this all settles, they're next, in my opinion. So what Sky said today is, masked by a hell of a lot. But I still think, and Seany, I'll come to you. Like, this might be a bit naive of me, right? But I think if Manchester United fans lined from the hotel 500 yards up the road, and then from Old Trafford 500 yards in, and lined the streets and clapped their players in whilst showing that they want the Glazers out, I think that makes a much bigger impression on things than what happened today. Because, well, I'll tell you why, Seany, because for me it shows the support of the players and managers. But I have a feeling, Seany, and the way they're trying to do this is right. The reason for them doing it is right, but they come off so badly, Seany, after today. They really, really do.
But Gav, the other side of the coin is that was almost perfection in my idea. Like, if you take away the lads wandering around the cans and throwing flares up at pundits, breaking into the stadium, although it is breaking and entering, fair enough, I get that. It's not right. I'm not condoning that at all. But getting this game called off is tangible. So, like Adam said, this would have just been brushed under the carpet like any other protest. But this one has actually impacted the week. In a week in a season where, look, maybe we win today, City are crowned champions. Like, there was variables to today. It wasn't just a nothing game. It's the biggest game in the calendar year. These two fixtures. Sky will know that, and both clubs will know that. Now, how much of an effect will it have in the big picture? I don't know, because I think the Glazers are that obnoxious that they won't give a bollocks. They know they'll be sitting in Tampa Bay today thinking, well, do you know what? Get on with it. But the fact today that the game was called off showed that, again, that fans can impact the game. They can impact the sport. I think Wenger chalked it down as a fan revolution today. Like, what's next? So if this, what's going to, like, if the game's called off today, what's going to stop them happening again somewhere else?
Well, you see, that's the thing. It could happen again. People are having a go at me in the chat saying that won't work. What I mean is that in a bit of hindsight, you're kind of, no, don't get me wrong. Like, if the protest was starting to protest and it's gone over the top a little bit, and they've had a game called off, and it works out, it was way more tangible as a United fan base to show what they're all about. It has actually worked. All I'm saying is that if they'd have done something peacefully, in my opinion, while showing support to the managers and players, and at the same time showing the owners that they fucking hate them, I don't know if they come out better. Maybe that tangible thing is a good argument, Seany.
But that could have happened today, right? So you think, right, that game kicks off at 4:30. So think about 8 o'clock news tonight, BBC. United fans protest outside Old Trafford as Manchester United and Liverpool draw 1-1, 2-1. Just, it would have been a subplot. It would have been a side story to the actual game itself. It would have been saying, similar to Arsenal and Everton. Like, in the end, it was nothing. It was minute. But this was breaking news on the hour. This game is cancelled. This is why. This is why it's happening. There's more eyes on it now, more than ever. Not just in Manchester, not in England, all over the world. This is global news. This was on the Spanish news not too long ago. So it's everywhere. So you need to think of the reach that they had today and the impact that they had. But the thing is, I'm not even sure this will make them fuckers budge. Now, if I'm being totally honest with you, and I really couldn't give a fuck how Manchester United are run, because I'm a Liverpool fan, I'm tribal. You're brought up to not really, look, we don't really care about them, we don't think about them. But when you look at what this is happening, if you're a football fan, you're thinking, okay, this has to fucking stop somewhere, because the bubble will burst eventually. The game is changing as we know it. This is the third Sunday in a row, Gav, where we're not actually talking about football.
No, I know.
We haven't talked about football in weeks on this show. We always talked about fucking the politics behind it, ESL, and now tonight. So when is football going to come back? The game as we know it has been completely taken away from us. No fans in the stadiums. You're watching piped in crowd noise. It's not the same. VAR, it's shite. Like I said, I've never felt more disconnected from the game in my life. And when you see shit like today happening, you're thinking, fucking hell, when will this stop? When are we going to get the game we know and love back? Because I'm sick of this shit. I'm sick of subplots. I'm sick of Operation Null and Void, Project Restart, all of this crap, people looking out for their self-interest. Karen Brady this time last year, cancel it. There's a chance we might go down. We need to think of the people, health and safety. Bollocks. It's all about self-interest and protecting themselves. And the thing that annoys me most is that these owners and big broadcast and media moguls or corporations, they're posing as fans and as that are on the fan side, but they're not. They're all looking out for themselves. The only ones who are looking out for the club are the fucking real United fans. The 20 or 30,000 so that were standing outside. The Liverpool fans who are hanging bangers off the Shankly gates a couple of weeks ago. They're the real fans. They're the ones who'll be affected. Sky do not give a bollocks about us. BT do not give a bollocks about us. They're all in it for the paper. Self-interest. Karen Brady doesn't give a bollocks about the health and safety of NHS workers in England at the time. All of these big fuckers with big fat pockets posing as the everyday fan is what is annoying me the most, because they couldn't be further away from the average day football fan.
Free World says, Sean, United fans are not protesting about the Super League. Let's be clear on this. No, we're all clear on that. No, we all know that, because what we are saying is it's added fuel to the fire.
But I'm no quarrel with United fans doing what they're doing, because they've been raked over the coals by these hungry bastards for 10 to 15 years. And imagine it was us, on the other hand. Imagine we had the Glazers as owners and we played at Anfield today and it happened.
Well, we had a version of them.
Yeah, but Gav, and this is what I'm saying. How did we get them cunts out? We couldn't even get those cunts out. And excuse me, language. It took the fucking banks to come in and get them out. We were going into administration. Did the whole of England care about Liverpool and was going into administration? No. Did it fuck? We were a circus in the media. Everyone was laughing at us. All laughing at us. It wasn't talking about one of the biggest institutions in English football going busting out of business. We were being laughed at. We were saying, look at them being taken to the fucking cleaners by these Americans. We were that close. We were that close.
We were close, and to be honest with you, like you say, the banks were the ones that stopped it in the end. No, I'm not saying Liverpool fans and protests, because there were protests at the time, sped it up and probably, probably brought it to the attention to the banks even more that, listen, not only are these boys like, what the fuck are they at, but the fan base can see it now as well. This could actually blow up and we never get our money back. Do you know what I mean? So it was one of those. But Aaron Maguire wants Adam to go back onto the United stand. Just to let you know, Aaron. There you go. There's Aaron's message. Thanks for the super chat. Keith, somebody mentioned there in the chat, like, could this happen again? Because if you look at Liverpool fans, right, they don't like FSG, but it's there's a split there, right? I think there's a hardcore of certain amount that just want them out. There's some people in the middle going, they're okay, but they make mistakes, and then there's other people that, they're good, they're grand, especially when you look at what the Glazers do to United. Because when you look at Liverpool, how they've grown to get actually somewhere close to United's revenues and turnovers and stuff, it's getting closer and closer all the time, but they make mistakes. Could this happen again? Because if it happens again, I only see it happening at Manchester United, because let's be Arsenal fans aren't going to do it. Manchester United are probably the only ones where you go, if this happens again, it's at United. Can you see it happening again?
Well, see, that's the worry, is it sets a precedent, and you want the game called off. Forget about Manchester United. Manchester United are, I say this all the time, Man U and Liverpool, the biggest clubs in the UK and in the world, you know, some will argue they're the ones with the biggest reach. If anything can happen, they're the teams that can do it. And certainly Manchester United mobilised their fans today. And like I said, I just felt that it lost a bit of its gloss. That could have been an excellent protest. But yeah, you set a precedent. But what's to stop other teams, you know, if they need games called off and start storming, you know, stadiums or stopping buses leaving hotels? And I'm talking, Seany mentioned Karen Brady there, you know, West Ham fans, what's to stop them? Now, they're doing well this year, but if they were in a relegation battle and it's like, right, well, if we get down on Wembley and kicking the doors down in that Olympic Stadium or wherever it is and stop the buses leaving, you know, it could grow into something like that. Now, it's all ifs, buts and maybes, but you just don't know if there's a precedent being set. It's a dangerous sort of line to cross into. Manchester United, as I said, and Liverpool, two of the biggest fan bases. If you're going to do it, as you said, Gav, Arsenal, I don't know, Spurs, nothing happened with Spurs today as far as I'm aware.
6 blokes playing guitar outside while you had Lame or fucking Enoch out signs, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, United took a bullet today. Their fan base took a bullet today, as far as I'm concerned, because they did, like Adam said. And look, I hate them with as much as respect as I have for them.
Yeah.
I do. There's nothing about it. There's obviously diehards, but there's fellas going out in their sort there today. No, nothing on. Just walking in and around Old Trafford. Like you said, fucking season tickets on the floor. I don't care if I never step foot in this place again. Enough is enough. And that's what happened.
But do they care? That's the problem. Do the owners care about these things? Do the Glazers sitting over in Tampa, as you said, Seany, are they even not bothered? I mean, obviously they don't want their club getting sort of worldwide news, and that's the impact, that's the effect and all that. But ultimately, can you make them sell? And Adam, like, what's the end game here for fans? They want them to sell. Who's buying them? Who can afford to buy them? And these clubs are they're worth billions now. Do you know what I mean? It's a dangerous game.
This is the whole thing. The whole movement for United is the 50+1. We just want to have a say. You know what? If an owner came in and wanted to spend, let's not say spend money, because we know the Glazers have spent nothing but United's own money. But we just want to have a say in our football club. We just want to be in on the vote when these major decisions come around. Yet the whole Super League just escalated. It's like dropping a stick of dynamite onto a bonfire. That's pretty much what's happened. The fact that they've done this, well, they were planning this while the world was on its arse and we was all suffering, looking to get back. Like Keith said there, you know what I mean? Disconnect from football. We were looking forward to getting that back and getting our own lives together. So the fact that they've done this and then owned up and said, look, we didn't expect the reaction that we got from the fans. You didn't expect that reaction. Shows you how disconnected they are from their football clubs. They've got no idea. So what United fans want, we want a share of our football club. That's what we want. We want to have a say. We want to have a vote on what happens. And that's all we wanted. That's all any football fan wants. You know what I mean? If you've got an owner to come in who's going to spend the money and spend a fair amount of what the club actually earns itself, then no one would have a problem with this. But they're not. It's not going to happen. The fact that these owners wanted to cheat the league as well by going into the Super League, it's just made it even clearer, especially to us doing this for 15 years now. It's been getting worse and worse pretty much every summer. And people will say, oh, what? This is the club that spent 80 million on Harry Maguire, this and that. But that's totally irrelevant, because the amount of money that they've taken out and they could have spent over the years on the infrastructure, like Keith said, the stadium that's fallen apart, that's got a hole in the roof, that's got rust on the outside, that they've put a big red film over the front of on the cheap and the snide, like tarpaulin, for fuck's sake, just to cover up the mess that is Old Trafford right now. It's embarrassing. We're supposed to be one of the biggest clubs in the world, and the owners are just dragging us through the mud. They're dragging us through the mud, and it's hit home even harder because of the timing of all of this as well. And it's just shown there's no remorse. And it's like, sorry, I forget your name in the top corner. I'm crap with names. Sorry. Keith. Sorry, Keith. It's like Keith said then. Are they bothered? Are they really bothered? Are they looking at that, what's happening today there at Old Trafford in Tampa Bay with their feet up, Are they even bothered about it? I don't think they are. But what they will be bothered about is the megastore being shut 2 weekends in a row. The megastore being shut. Adidas coming in today saying sales are down on shirts. And you know what? The revolving credit that they've got at the moment to cover the bills is only going to last so long. They already owe me for games that I didn't go to 2 seasons ago. And they want to charge us for the Fulham game. I'm like, I'm sorry, what? You still not repaid me for what you owe me from 2 seasons ago when the season was cut short. And now you sent us an email saying, we want this amount of money for you to apply for the game where we've all got a few fans to be able to go back in, as you all know, the last 2 games of the season. They want to charge us for that. Well, all this is going on. Kind of says to me, they don't care. And this is like, the only way it is going to count is by what happened today. And United fans knew this, and it's probably why it was so organised in a different way, that it needs to be big news. It needs to be worldwide news, which it is. It's stopped the biggest game in world football, and it's probably going to get us a hefty fine, because out of all of this, we ain't had any punishment at all yet. We're just walking free at the moment. I just don't understand what's going on.
Well, can I ask you something? And I want, because I want to. The big thing, one of the big things for me today was the coverage around it. Okay, and the part that Sky have to play, and I want to get all your opinions on that before we finish up, because we're 47 minutes in. Time does fly when you're having fun. But Adam, I'll ask you this. You know, we've all to a man here asked, does it matter to the Glazers? In my opinion, the bottom line only matters. If they like, let's be honest, you don't like what they're doing, but they're sitting there going, hold on, this club didn't cost us a penny. We're taking, I would reckon, probably 100 million plus out of that club a year. That's the numbers I've heard. Well, okay, yeah, somewhere around that. And obviously that's denying 100 million of investment. And I'm not talking players, like you said, when you're putting a massive big plaster up around the edge of your stadium to hold it together. You know, and Mark F says there, Liverpool fans may not understand, but Old Trafford is falling apart, full of rust, moss and holes in the roof. No investment in the stadium since they arrived. You know, what's next, Adam? Because do you hit them in their pocket? Do you say to them, I'm not going to the Fulham game, you're not getting your money? I don't care if we're allowed 10,000 in. None of us are going. Is that the next step now? Because you've done the protest. It's gone over the top a bit. Okay, there's some negatives to it, and as Seany quite rightly pointed out, there's something tangible to it at the same time. What happens now? Because let's be honest, come the start of next season, Adam, the chances are stadiums will be, I would say, close enough to full with the way the UK are carrying on with COVID now.
Yeah.
Do you just turn around and say nobody buy a season ticket? Or nobody go into the ground, nobody buy anything, the superstore, don't go near it, don't buy anything online, and hit them until they say, you know what, we can't take 100 million out anymore because we're not getting it. Is that the next step?
This is the ultimate worry, you know. It's like a double-edged sword. It's like, it's good to say that, and everyone says that to me. And as a match-going fan, it's obviously harder for me to deal with because I'm giving up my way of life. Mm-hmm. And our ultimate worry as season ticket holders is we give up our season ticket and then they will sell it to the tourists for more money and make more money from it and keep going and drive the club to where they want them, which is a commercial show, which is what franchise American football is. That's what they want. They want us to give up. So we're stuck in the middle because as soon as we give up, I mean, guys, since they came in, they stuck an executive suite right in the middle of the Stretford end. Need I say any more? You know, guys, you guys have been, you know your history, you know your football stadiums. An executive suite in the middle of the Stretford end. They will just
it would be like sticking one in the middle of the Kop.
Yeah, it's, you know, you know what? I sat at one point in the Stretford end. 2 yards away from me was the executive suite, right? So we had the steps separating us. My ticket was, their ticket was £1,300 more than mine for a season, 2 foot away. And all it had was a cushion on the seat. That's what they will do. They will expand that. They will bring the tourist in and they will charge more money and make more revenue. So this is the situation we're in that some people don't understand, but that is what they will do. They will up the prices. They will say the season tickets are frozen. Our executive season ticket holders pay £2,000 or £3,000 a year, but they get priority for away match ticket ballots. They go first. And what they do is they sell them to tourists for £300 a pop to pay for their executive season ticket at Old Trafford each season, just so they can entertain their guests. It's turning into a farce of a football club and just a show. It's turning American franchise already from under our feet, and we can see it, and we're stuck right in the middle of it. And it's like there's no way out of it for us. There really isn't.
Is it a case then? Is it a case then of keeping season tickets and going to the ground and then walking out?
That and spending absolutely nothing in the stadium in the long term is the only way I think that they're going to hit their pockets.
Go on,
Roy Keane called it prawn sandwich brigade, didn't he? But like what Adam said there, if they're passing off a season ticket to a tourist, right? So you're talking about someone who's probably playing 3 or 4 times the value of the ticket. They're coming over for a match day. They're dropping probably £500 in the mega store before the game. They're buying programs. They're having beers there. They're eating there. They're whatever. So basically, the value per one fan.
I'll tell you one quickly there, Keith. Just so to put it into perspective, 4 years ago, I know one box at United, an 8-seater box, was bought by Chinese for 10 grand for one game.
Yeah, there you go.
It's 30,000 a year for that box. 10 grand for one game.
Yeah,
it's a business on a business, and they're not bothered who has it as long as they get their share.
Yeah, because they know if you don't go, there's 10 others behind you that are going to go, and that's where they have you snookered.
That's it.
Keith, you know, just moving on, and before I move on to the Sky stuff, I want to say thanks to Adam, in case I forget at the end, because he's come on, he's been extremely honest, he's told you exactly what's happened to him today, how it came about, how it was organised, what happened where he was, what happened in other parts of the ground, and he's explained it brilliantly. So I want to thank him for that before we move on to the whole Sky stuff. And that was just in case I forget at the end, because I usually get excited at the end and start talking about how I play golf for the first time in 4 months during the week, and you know, nothing else matters. So I didn't want to forget. But Keith, the coverage of this today, like, I'm watching the pictures and I'm saying to myself, and I'm sitting there going, they're protesting, they don't like the owners. It's over the top a little bit, stuff like that, and you know, you can all take a view on it. But the coverage from me today, Keith, was, the only word I can use is appalling. Because I'm literally looking at people openly protecting their own interests while trying to garner support from people they don't care about. And I don't know what you made of it, but when I watched it, I was in, the pictures were fine, of the ground and whatever else, but the words coming from these people's mouths was garbage, to be perfectly honest, Keith.
It was, and you know, look, we've sort of Gary Neville, a lot of people like the way he's handled the Super League thing, and a lot of people don't. And today, Gary Neville was in like a light again, and it was, you know, Liverpool and Manchester United responsible, European Super League. The United fans have wanted the Glazers out. The Super League just highlighted it, but it was the constant peaceful protest that they kept, the rhetoric that they kept saying. And as the day went on, and Adam, I don't know, you wouldn't have seen any of the sort of television stuff that was happening, right? But you know, as the day went on, they kept saying it, and it was getting to a stage where they were getting pulled up on it. Like Dave Jones was having to challenge some of the stuff they were saying. Do you know what I mean? And it was just getting, I found it very odd. But what I didn't like, the one thing I didn't like, Gary Neville and Roy Keane, I felt, were throwing petrol on a fire. And they were saying, this is only the start of it. This is only the start of it. Wait till you see what comes next. And I don't know if that's helpful, because look, don't want to compare it to the insurrection at the Capitol Hill or anything like that. But that was, you know, people whipping up other people into a frenzy to do things. And I'm just worried about, you know, the responsibilities of Gary Neville, Roy Keane, Graeme Souness, Sky, Jamie Carragher. This isn't a dig at Gary Neville and Roy Keane. They're obviously Manchester United legends, and they gave their say. Jamie Carragher was doing the same thing. You know, he was as bad, for want of a better word. But I just don't want it to be a case where it gets whipped up into an unnecessary frenzy. Protesting, we're all for that. Do you know what I mean? But ultimately, I just don't want the case where, you know, if it spills over onto the wrong side, you know, and violence comes into it. Because, as I said, it's too easy to say things and not have any consequences. Like Gary Neville is Sky's front man. You know, he's the face of Sky Sports. We all know that. Gary Neville has his own interests in this. I feel he should have more responsibility and act a bit more responsibly in his actions.
But he can't. You see, because you would expect him to, but he can't have more responsibility because of the position he took 2 weeks ago. The position he took 2 weeks ago is that Manchester United, and well, the first words there was met with Liverpool, but Liverpool and Manchester United were awful for what they'd done. Okay? Now, it wasn't a good thing that those two clubs, along with the other four, done. But because of the position he took 2 weeks ago, he can't move now, Keith. Like, you have to remember, he stood there today, right? And rightly or wrongly, whatever you think of them fans, him as a Sky, an employee of Sky, was more or less, it was 100% condoning what was happening. And what was happening meant that his product was damaged because of it. His product that he works for was damaged. He was there to commentate for Sky Sports, who pay his wages, on Manchester United against Liverpool. That did not happen. And he still stood there and condoned it. Okay? Now, I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but the position he took 2 weeks ago makes it nigh on impossible for him to do anything else but stand there on a soapbox and say, this is what's coming next. We've seen pictures of him fist pumping people coming into the stadium and stuff. But when he takes that position, he's snookered. And I go back to it. He made comments on Monday Night Football 2 weeks ago where he was basically saying that he was at the club or around the club or, you know, still a massive supporter of Manchester United when the Glazers were doing A, B and C, and he let it go. He didn't mind the dividends and stuff like that, right? And now, because Sky would have lost possibly the 6 biggest teams in the league, and they wouldn't be showing the competition over here that had all the money and all the players wanting to play in it, he's outraged. He's outraged. And he can't go back now, because what he's done is he's painted a picture that this is saving football and this is the way for football and to give the game back to the man, right? But it's not that at all. Well, it's not that at all, because I can tell you now, if Gary Neville didn't work for Sky, right, he was offered a job for whoever else at this Super League, he'd be on it. That's not me having a go at Gary Neville. That's someone looking after their own interests. And that, for me, is what's happened. So to ask Gary Neville to take responsibility, and Carragher and Keane and whoever else to take responsibility for what was going on there and whipping it up, they can't. They've painted themselves into a corner now, and they have to stick with it. Shawnee, you watched a lot of Sky today.
I would have loved to hear from Nicky, because did Nicky both fuck United off because what was going on near the top, didn't he? He walked out because he was like, this is a fucking shambles. I'd love to hear his thoughts.
It was sort of, they were putting people in place. I mean, Darren Fletcher got promoted instantly in front of him, and I think he's seen, there must have been some sort of inside track. He might have knew what was going on, but he probably seen it from the inside, and he outed United. He completely did him what he did.
Yeah,
that's the way to go about it, because like Neville has skin in the game. Sky have skin in the game. These all have a rhetoric to follow. And although Neville is using some of the most outrageous, colourful language to phase what ESL were doing, this is a murder on English football and this, that and the other, like completely glosses over the shite that UEFA are trying to push through with extra games. Who gives a fuck about the players having to play extra games when we've seen the impact stacked schedules have on players and their fitness over time? Who gives a bollocks? All trying to play the good guy. There's no good guys in this, and the only loser in this is the everyday fan. Yeah. They're the only one who was lost out on any of this, because these billionaires don't care. They'll find other ways to make millions. Sky don't care because they have their product protected. Gary Neville can still go on with his football projects, his businesses, wherever. Neville can go wherever way, spitting on people, coming back, being a company man, then go wherever he wants, do whatever he has to do. But the only person losing in all of this is the fan. The fans are the ones who are missing out here. They're the ones being raked over the coals for extra match day, fucking the charges on tickets, traveling to more games, having to go bomb at 12:30, fucking Monday night. These fans have jobs on Monday nights that they go up and see United play away. They don't give a bollocks. So the sooner that fans realise that these actually aren't on your side, the better, because they're not. And that's the only thing that has really annoyed me in the last 2 weeks is everybody claiming to be the white knight. We're on your side and we're in this together. Sky are in this with the fans. This is all a fucking joke.
Is the subscription price coming down on Sky anytime soon?
I don't think so.
No.
And that's like the thing that is bad for United fans, Adam, is they might go out this summer and sign Sancho, Declan Rice for however much more, and most of it will go away. And Glazers know that. And you know that yourself. The Glazers know that because this is going. Remember, AC Milan played United in the Champions League, and Beckham was swinging the scarf going off the ground. This has been going on that long, and they know we'll just drop a bit of cash in and keep them fucking quiet. You see the way they leak stories about X-player, Y-player is linked with United the day after a bad result. It's pure PR spin, and they know that as soon as they drop 100 million on another player, or as soon as they give 400 grand a week to Paul Pogba on a 3-year deal, a lot of it will die down because that's the way it's been for a decade and a half. So you're hoping today broke the back of that, because if it didn't, they're fucked because they'll just carry on doing what they've been doing.
It's interesting what you said about Sky there, because Sky are in the most powerful position, because we all know BT are struggling right now. There's no one to really compete with them. BT are looking to sell certain sections of it. It's been well documented. I think they've tried to compete in a market that Sky has always had wrapped up since the Premier League started. They knew they held the strong position in all of this, and all they're doing right now is solidifying for what comes next. And that could well be a Super League in time. And they'll be the first in the queue. They'll be first in the queue, and all their pawns will go with them. And they'll all start talking like it's the best thing in the world because they will have to endorse it. We know how it works. I think Sky are just in that position because no one's been brave enough yet. We've seen the likes of Amazon try to dip their foot in the water, and that is a massive powerhouse. But I think it's going to take a little bit more for someone to try and move Sky out of the way, especially for quality of coverage and what it brings. They're just as bad as everyone else. They're bad as the owners, like you guys were saying. They really are. And I've seen snippets, not as much as you guys at the coverage today, but from what I've seen, I can't really disagree with what you've said.
Yeah, it's an interesting one because I said it earlier. I think Seany's right. If United go out and spend 250 million in the summer, a lot of this will die down because regardless of how big a fan base is, it can be quite fickle. So like at the moment, if you look at Liverpool, it's like what was going on there with that Super League? No one was told. You've done it behind our backs, and the Liverpool owners have kind of come out and said a few bits to try calm it down, and they're willing to meet fan representatives and stuff like that. But I know if Liverpool go out in the summer, which is looking unlikely with the sort of finances that were published this week and the way everything is, and we're still unsure as to when teams will be in stadiums with fans and stuff like that. I know if Liverpool go out and spend 200 million in the summer, people will go, you know what? They're fully committed again, FSG, and on me move. Until the next thing happens. And that can happen. That can absolutely happen. Because you do have extremes on one side and extremes on the other, and sometimes they can come together and it's just like, they've spent what we can't really give out, they fucking spent when we've told them that they aren't spending enough. But like I look when it comes, I still think Sky and BT are next. Now you're right, BT are meant to be struggling and looking to sell off. I think part of their rights to try get themselves back with money. But then there was talk that the Premier League were looking to do a private sale to these companies with regards to the rights instead of putting it out for auction or tender. Sorry, is the word I'm looking for. Yeah. But if that's true, then you're saying to yourself, well, hold on, they're going on about competition 2 weeks ago, and now there's no competition for the rights.
Like shop.
There's every chance for me that the fans will now turn around and say to Sky, why aren't you showing us free games? Why aren't you reducing how much it's costing us to watch them games? You're putting them games on at 12 o'clock. You know, Newcastle fan having to travel to Bournemouth at 12 o'clock on a Saturday morning. Why isn't that free? Because it's the game of the people. You know, you gave out about this hunger and this greed so many months ago, and now you're giving us this. They're in a very precarious position, I think, Sky. They have got the power, you're right, Adam, because their product is the longevity of their project, I think, is what makes it for them. They're 29 years now. What are you doing?
Yeah.
Honest, they have a monopoly on Premier League football.
Yeah,
they get
they have
all
a-
the big games.
They do. Yeah, no, they do. And but when you look at it, if Sky want, if Sky really think people are going to take them serious with the comments that they've come out with over the last couple of weeks, they're going to have to fall on their sword.
Lie on national television today, by the way, more than once. He told liars. He lied, like he did. He genuinely did. He should have been fact checked by someone. And he turned around and said that Liverpool furloughed staff and furloughed players when they didn't. They tried it and immediately reversed. That's what he did. He lied. So that's not right either. That's bullshit. And he shouldn't be doing that. And he should be pulled on.
You say things and you say things and you say things and people think it's the truth and that carries the message on. And
very emotional. I remember he was saying
Sky pretty much too.
Before, he's a very emotional bloke, but he shouldn't be saying stuff like that because it's not true. Klopp had a pop on him last week when Neville was going on about "you'll never walk alone." Like the fans aren't entitled to sing "you'll never walk alone." Like it was something got to do with them. When it was fuck all got to do with them. "You Never Walk Alone" has been Liverpool's anthem since for how long? Before FSG, it'll be there when they go. You can realise these are all just custodians of the football clubs that we love. They might outlive us, they might not. That's all they are. The soul of the club will always remain at the end. Neville is a fucking wanker, for want of a better term. And he was lying today on the telly. He was lying today, and he should be pulled. He's not your fucking mate, spudding United fans going into the ground. This is a fella who said nothing when he was the club captain for years because he was on the payroll. And I guarantee you, some consortium who probably will take over United are offering Neville a seat on the fucking board. And I wonder what will happen if it goes pear-shaped there. Will he be as vocal? I don't think so.
No, it's just to me, it's just people positioning themselves and posturing for whatever position they're in and looking to,
something's brewing, mate. Yeah,
to be in whatever position of strength they can be at the end of it, because you have to remember, Sky have suffered because of the pandemic. Everyone has, but they all know we're coming towards the end of that now. They're all going to have to position themselves properly for when rights come up and when fans get back in ground. And they may look like the White Knights coming to save football over the last 2 weeks, but I genuinely feel that, like Seany said, like Adam said, like Keith said, when this all passes, right, or passes to an extent, eyes will be turned on broadcasters. They will 100% be turned on broadcasters because you're going on and it's very simple. You were talking about greed, and now you're asking for me for £100 a month to watch Burnley against fucking Southampton. You know, that's what it's going to come to, because they've lit the touch paper now. They've lit the touch paper not only by what's gone on, but the way they've covered it. They've absolutely, I believe they've painted themselves into a bit of a corner.
Mate, in the midst of all this, you've got leading Chisora and Parker as a pay-per-view. I mean, when was that ever a pay-per-view?
Exactly.
Come on.
Yeah,
exactly.
We only tuned in for Katie Taylor anyway.
The biggest the biggest fight in boxing in the next 100 years, in the last 100 years, is going to be held in Saudi Arabia between two British fighters.
Yeah.
Why? Because of money. The Sky give a bollocks about the fans. Imagine 100,000 in Wembley for Joshua Fury. Yeah. That's worth more than any money to be able to broadcast that. But now, gone out the window. Fucking over to Saudi Arabia, where most of the money is. And Sky are on the high horse about the integrity of football. Look what they're doing with everything else. There's a fucking World Cup in Qatar next Christmas. What like
next Christmas?
Yeah.
It's next Christmas.
Yeah.
Everything is just mad.
Turkey and ham and Kylian Mbappe.
Yeah.
Yeah, Turkey and ham playing a World Cup tour place playoff and you're doing your Christmas shopping. And people think that fans.
Yeah.
Pull your head out of your arse. Sky are having everyone on here and pretending to be the good guy.
Yeah, no.
And like they'll all come down on them eventually. But like Adam said, Chisora fucking Parker is a pay-per-view now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. Before we finish up though, Adam, I'll come back to you. We've seen what's happened today. 2 questions for you. One, what do you think happens with regards to this game and any possible, fines or whatever else might come with it? And 2, as a United fan, what do you do next? In your opinion, what do you do next over the short term to not only let the Glazers know, but keep a momentum? Because listen, regardless of how today went or looked, a momentum for me is built there with Manchester United and the fans towards their owners.
Yeah, I think in terms of this game, I think it's been muted. That 16th or something like that. I think the one you guys have to move a game to a midweek, something like that. I'd have thought it would have had to have been tomorrow. Looking at the fixture pile up, I thought it's got to be tomorrow, but I just don't know. Honestly,
a couple of bookmakers have it down for 3 o'clock tomorrow, by the way.
Yeah, this is what I mean. It's like this. We just talked about it. Then Sky will make some big deal out of it, won't they? And a lot of subscriptions out of it and make this big advert about it. They're probably working on that now before they announce it. Actually, big advert just to get everyone intrigued. In terms of what we do next, I think the only thing we can do is just not spend any money. I think the boycott on all merchandise is well and truly on for United fans. I think that is how you do it. You don't spend any money in the stadiums. Like I said before, it's difficult with the tickets and the season tickets. I think the one thing that did hamper them was the league coming down on away ticket prices and capping them. They're never going to be able to do that on home games, but I think you can really hurt them if you don't spend anything on the match day. And nothing from the shops. That's ultimately where it's going to be, because then the sponsors get involved. And when Adidas aren't selling shirts and certain sponsors aren't getting their branded United shirts out there in the public, and all these replica companies are taking the money away because they're the ones who probably end up winning from all of this, then that's where it's going to hurt them. The money has to dry up. I think if you ask every United fan if we didn't spend a penny because we were bleeding the Glazers dry over the next 5-10 years, I'd take that now. I'm not bothered. I'd rather see young players come through than these Glazers try and cover up the mess they're making by spending millions every transfer window. Well, not every transfer window, but whatever they can. I feel that's the only way that we can go forwards. I mean, protests will probably carry on. They'll probably be as organised as today's one at some, but you just don't know what's coming. You don't know what is around the corner in terms of the Super League as well. All we can do is, like I said, then get back to the stadium when we can, not spend any money at the club, and try and get our football back. At the end of the day, we're all crying out to get back in the stadiums as it is, and it's really thrown the fans under the bus more than anyone else right now, because we're stuck. We're stuck with owners who want to bleed us dry. We want to do the best for the club, but we don't want to support the owners that run that club, and that's where it's difficult.
Yeah, it is a difficult situation, but I think, like I said, regardless of how you felt about or how people feel about that today, and some will like it, some won't, some could be a bit indifferent to it. It's definitely upped the ante, I think, with regards to Manchester United and their owners, and I think you're right. I think they look at that protest, and if it doesn't cost them any money, they'll sit and go, who gives a fuck? Whereas if they look and go, we're meant to have, where's these 10,000 fans against Fulham, isn't it? There's nobody in the ground. No one showed up. No one showed up. Not interested. I think that's definitely the way to go, in my opinion. Seany, with regards to this game, Ali A says they said the game won't happen tomorrow because Liverpool left the team hotel. They would have stayed tonight, but they didn't. And somebody else said that the game's been moved to May the 16th. West Brom has been moved to May the 12th. With regards to this game, Seany, do you just see it being moved and they move on, or do you see fines? There won't be points deductions, but what do you see happening here?
That's bullshit. Don't listen to any of that. This game will reschedule and be going along as normal, and it'll be just sold by Sky as the one that should have happened. It was like when McGregor fought Khabib and everyone was up in arms about McGregor smashing the bus window with a trolley, but when they were doing the promos for it, they were pushing all over the place. They were disgraced. He was locked up, but it was used in the promo. So this will just be used as a fire by Sky to push it out. That's what they'll do. Because I'll tell you what, on both sides, I don't think many United fans and Liverpool fans were even mostly bothered with this game today. A lot of them are like, "No, we have a semi-finals on Tuesday. We're playing for nothing." Everyone was kind of like, "Oh, nah." But I'd say Sky are delighted with how this panned out today because there's more eyes on them forever. And I'd imagine that everyone tuning in to watch the boys spitball all the hyperbole during the break in the game, they'd be delighted because I wouldn't say the numbers would have had tailed off at all. I'd say everyone was tuning in for their sound bites from Neville, from Keane, from the passionate players like Gary Neville acting like fucking Boris Johnson. So they would have been delighted. They'll get another day out of this. Probably a Saturday 12:30 kickoff, maybe a 5:30. They'll do what they want. Sky will have this game whenever they want. Could be played in bleeding Jeddah for all we know, or in Qatar. You never know.
Anthony Joshua is the ref.
The special ref
yeah. Fury on the VAR. What else are we doing, lads? We're over here waiting to fight. Keith, you know, as Seany says, you can't see any points deductions. You might see a fine for United for safety breaches or whatever it might be. But Seany's right, isn't he? You know, Sky will get this and they'll probably have Carragher and Neville pretending to start a race, and then it's, you know, a false start, and all of a sudden it's back Liverpool and United, and they'll all just fucking ramp this up, and it's all good.
Yeah, it'll be the usual sickening stuff around it, you know what I mean? As we've said, the bastions of morality will be back on, and the saviours of football in the UK. And what Seany said, you know, points deductions, you won't get points, they will get fined because teams have got fined for less than that. You know what I mean? Basically, the match couldn't go ahead, so they're going to get hammered with a fine. But there's not going to be a points deduction. If it happens again, that could be a points deduction. But I think the point was made today. You know what I mean? That's all. That's the job done. The game will be rescheduled. People were calling for a Liverpool walkover win. Like, it's that schoolboy football stuff, isn't it? That doesn't happen in the Premier League when Sky have their tentacles into you. So the game is definitely going on today. The game's definitely being played, and you know, it'll be the propaganda machine will be out, loading her up and laying it on thick, and the world will keep turning and nobody will bat an eye, and the same thing will happen again. And you know, fans are being egged on to do these things and turn against clubs. Does that really change? I don't know if there can be anything done about it. But you know, again, I just want to say, I've no issue with Manchester United fans protesting today. Fair play to them. It's a shit show that they're being put through. And again, fair play to Adam for coming on and talking and giving us the insight from someone who was actually there. Do you know what I mean? It was great to have that. So nice one for coming on and doing that. But look, I don't know, you know, if anything changes, you know, hopefully you get something done. But I don't know. I think you're taking on billionaires who are making their billions no matter what. And it's a hard fight to win.
Yeah, it is a hard fight to win because, like, when you look at the Glazers, when you look at Stan Kroenke, even FSG, you know, even the owners at Spurs, Chelsea, you know, it's bottom line
going
stuff.
Through a leverage buyout, weren't they at the moment?
Yeah, it's
Burnley.
It's bottom line. Whatever the bottom line is, if that suits them, they don't care. They're thousands of miles away from you. You know, for the vast majority of the time. Avo wants to know if Max and Paddy were doing security at Old Trafford today. I'm not too sure. We'll check that out. But no, that's just a bit of humour at the end, you know, because it's been a fairly serious conversation. But we will check if Max and Paddy were on the door. And yeah, look, we won't. We won't check. I don't think they were. But anything before we go, Seany?
Nah.
No.
Just fuck this season off and give us football back in August, September, where all the fans back, please.
Yeah, except United fans won't be in the ground because they've had enough. And
they're all banned. All that season ticket members are gone. They're all banned today.
A big conga. Just go in the ground. The whistle blows. Big conga back out, and then your job done. They're just getting their season ticket money and nothing else. Keith, anything else before we go?
No, all good.
Good stuff. Adam, anything else before we go, my man?
Yeah, it's just a quick one there. It's like one thing out of all of this, we all want to be backing our team, don't we? We want to be backing the players and supporting the players, and that's what they've made difficult for us as well. You know what I mean? We just want to be there cheering our team on. I think it's back the team, hate the club at the moment. That's how it feels, and the players are at fault. It's just they're stuck right in the middle of it, and we're just going to lose out from it in the end. It just seems.
Yeah, it's a difficult one, but I have to say, like, you know, I think regardless of what what way you portray the pictures today, and some of them are just very plain to see. I think most football fans would look at United and go, you know what, fair play to them for protesting. Maybe it went the wrong way a little bit, and you know you can't all you can do is apologise for that. But I think overall they have shown with the little kick of the Super League. I think, like you said earlier, it's like putting dynamite onto a bonfire, and you know you never know. The Glazers might look at it and go, here, had enough of this, we're out of here. May not happen.
Yeah.
Chances are it won't. But I think if United fans keep at what they're at and what they're trying to do, I think they'll get results in the end. I don't know how long that'll be, but I think they get results in the end. Thanks a million to Seany. Thanks a million to Keith. Massive thanks to Adam for coming on. Everyone wants him back on. Don Clark has just said, just found this podcast by accident, loved it, gutted the game was cancelled, can't agree with the violence, relieved it wasn't fans. You're very welcome, Don, and thanks for finding us. I hope you subscribed and I hope you liked it. But everyone wants Adam back on, so if Adam wants to host 2 to 3 shows a week when he's not breaking into Old Trafford and wrecking the place, he's more than welcome to. Of course he didn't do that, we're only messing. And Sky, give us the full version of his interview, will you, before we offer him a job, because he did say it was clipped and it was appalling.
Apparently it's on Norwegian TV as well, I've been told. So
yeah,
you can do it's even got Norwegian subtitles if you want to watch it in Norwegian.
Okay. Make sure you get paid your royalties on it at least. But look, that has been the Fatback for Sunday night. And thanks a million for everyone for joining us. Of course, we were meant to be coming on and doing a review of Manchester United v Liverpool, but you know what happened today. But look, it's been a really good show. It's been very interesting. It's been serious at times. Max and Paddy were on the door at Old Trafford, which brightened it up at the end. But that's about it. Don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe, don't forget to share. We are doing that media blackout, our media boycott until midnight on Monday. But we are back tomorrow with the forum, and I'm sure this stuff will be discussed again, and we'll have more stuff on during the week. That's been it. Talk to you in a bit. Over and out.